A couple of days after the Austrian Grand Prix, a one-off TV drama named Wooden Top aired on British television, following a policeman on his first day at the fictional Sun Hill police station in London. Its good critical reception and audience figures persuaded ITV to commission a follow-up series known as The Bill, which became a staple of British television running until 2010. Hurricane Alicia pounded the coast of Texas, killing 22 and causing billions of dollars worth of damage. Filipino opposition leader Ninoy Aquino returned from exile only to be assassinated at the airport. His death galvanized opposition to President Marcos and made his wife, Corazon, Cori Aquino, a figurehead. With tentative plans for a mid-August Soviet Grand Prix having come to nothing, see the link in the description for more, it was back to normal slot for the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort. With a bank holiday weekend in the UK, there was the usual throng of British supporters there to enjoy the race under the traditional British bank holiday leaden skies. The big talking point for the pundits was McLaren's arrival with what seemed like half the Porsche factory, because Niki Lauda would be taken to the track with the new tag-badged Porsche engine in the back of his new MP41F. Ron Dennis, Niki and the boys from Stuttgart were all smiles, while John Watson was essentially ignored in the back corner of the garage with his Ford-powered MP41C. Not improving his mood was increasing speculation over his future, with his contract up at the end of 1983 and as yet no move from the team to renew it. Less in the limelight, but no less under pressure, were Lotus, who brought a revised 94T with them for De Angelis and were trying again with their multi-layered rear wing. Meanwhile, with the European season starting to draw to a close, it was perhaps telling that the Theodore team was down to its bare bones, with team manager Mo Nunn away working on a project in the US and designer Nigel Bennett back home working on an IndyCar design. With just the drivers and mechanics present, there was a distinct sense that Theodore was a dead team walking. Meanwhile, up the paddock at Brabham, two of Nelson Piquet's mechanics had decided to set up a mail-in fan club for the Brazilian driver, who tended to be somewhat reclusive away from the racetrack and would only open correspondence with a Brazilian stamp on it. On track, though, Piquet was in his element and took his first pole position since Austria last year to break the run of Ferrari dominance. Tombe was second, just ahead of a flying De Angelis and his new Lotus in third. Mansell was fifth, with Prost splitting the black cars, and Patrese sixth. René Arnoux had all kinds of mechanical gremlins over both qualifying sessions and could only manage 10th, lining up alongside Eddie Cheever, while Watson had the satisfaction of out-qualifying Lauda in the new McLaren tag. The Austrian veteran was down in 19th. Normal service was resumed at the back, with the usual suspects of Ghinzani, Cecotto and Aitchison failing to qualify. With Arnoux swapping to the spare car for the race, things were ready to get underway. The cars departed for the parade lap except for Winkelhock, whose engine wouldn't fire. By the time he got it going, everyone else was halfway around the lap, and he set off in pursuit, catching up and then filtering back up through the grid, weaving his way back into ninth place as they formed up for the start. When the lights went green, Piquet got away well, but Tombe got it all wrong, his clutch overheating and slipping, and he ended up 20th, while Cheever got a demon start to go from 11th to 2nd ahead of Prost as they went into the first corner. The Loti were also slow away, promoting Patrese to 4th with De Cesaris 5th and the Lotus twins falling back rapidly as the first lap went on. De Angelis was still ahead of a charging Arnoux, but Mansell dropped quickly behind the Ferrari as well as Warwick and Johansson. Jean-Pierre Jarier pleased many of his fellow drivers by retiring early with a suspension failure, never mind the on-screen caption, while Prost finally found a way past Cheever on lap 4 and set off in pursuit of Piquet. Arnoux had meanwhile disposed of De Angelis and was now tucked up under the rear wing of De Cesaris' Alfa Romeo, which promptly blew its engine. As he guided the smoking car into the pits, Patrese was shaping up to have a go at Cheever, but couldn't make it stick. The Rome-born American and the Italian were having a terrific scrap, though, while Arnoux bore down on the pair of them, and Prost closed in on Piquet. Warwick had also made his way into the points, past De Angelis, who was having troubles with his electronics that would prove terminal on lap 12. Further back in the midfield, both Lauda and Tombe were on the move, the Austrian getting ahead of Alboreto to go 13th, as Tombe disposed of Rosberg for 15th and quickly got past the Tyrrell too. Arnoux, meanwhile, took advantage of a lull in the Cheever-Patrese battle to get past the Renault, and a few laps later he was past the Brabham as they made their way through traffic, but still some distance behind Piquet and Prost at the front. By now, the leading pair were running close together, but if Prost was hoping to pressure Piquet into a mistake, he was to be disappointed, as the 1981 champion was proving unflappable. There were now two on-track battles between a Brabham and a Renault, split by Arnoux' Ferrari, as Patrese and Cheever resumed their scrap now over fourth place, which ended in Eddie's favour when Patrese missed a gear and he was able to slingshot past. The McLaren tag's debut ended prematurely with overheating brakes on lap 25, just as Mansell spun out in his Lotus, and as the half-distance pit-stop window approached, it was Piquet, Prost, Arnoux, Cheever, Patrese and Warwick in the top 6. Prost was keen to get past Piquet before the pit stops because the Renault pits were further up the pit lane than the Brabham, and he didn't want to be balked by Piquet peeling in if they both came in together. He was all over the back of the Brabham like a cheap suit for several laps, while Eddie Cheever came in for an unplanned second stop, only to be waved off by the mechanics who were expecting Prost any moment. Further up the pit, Winkelhock was making his fuel stop and saw the Renault coming in his mirrors. He waited to let Cheever through, but ATS team designer Gustav Brunner didn't realise and went round the back of the ATS thinking there was a problem. He was clipped by Cheever's front wing and suffered a broken leg. Cheever sputtered to a halt with dead electrics a few corners later. Meanwhile, as Patrese made his stop on lap 41, Prost had another go at Piquet, getting through on the inside at Tarzan, but then sliding sideways under braking straight into the side of the Brabham. Nelson ended up in the tyre barriers while Prost was seemingly fine until his left front wing revolved on its weakened mountings and understeered him into a barrier. So Arnoux inherited the lead, much to his own surprise, while the Renault team could barely believe their bad luck with both drivers out within a few minutes of each other. Once the pit stops had shaken out, Arnoux led Patrese with Tambay now third after a great drive through the field, who had likewise got the bit between his teeth and was doing all he could to show why Ron Dennis should keep him on. He'd got ahead of Warwick during the pit stops, and the way he was going, you wouldn't bet against him doing even better before the day was out. On lap 50, Winkelhock was black-flagged and disqualified for overtaking on the parade lap a full hour after the offence. The ever-mercurial Günther Schmidt was absolutely livid, reasoning that if his driver had been disqualified in a timely fashion, he wouldn't now have a chief designer on his way to hospital, while Winkelhock's body language on departing the cockpit suggested he wasn't thrilled either. The main interest in the remaining laps came as Tambay chased Patrese, though Giacomelli and Alboreto were also having an almighty scrap in midfield, which the TV viewers only saw briefly as Arnoux came through to lap the pair of them. Rosberg's pretty anonymous weekend came to an end after 57 laps circulating in the midfield with an engine misfire. Eventually, Tambay caught Patrese, but getting past the nippy Brabham proved another matter entirely, and the pair ran in formation for lap after lap with the Frenchman looking for an opening. Both were running about 25 seconds behind Arnoux, who looked set for an unlikely win considering all his pre-race troubles. And then Patrese's 1983 curse struck again. His turbocharger stopped turbocharging the engine, and he lost a few hundred horsepower, allowing Tambay through into second, just as Boutsen's engine expired with 7 laps to go. Patrese kept it going, but now effectively running a half-sized non-turbo engine, he was swamped by the rest of the chasing pack. All of which went on behind Arnoux as he powered to his third win of the year, with Tambay second for a Ferrari 1-2 that looked distinctly unlikely a couple of laps into the race. John Watson showed his class by taking third place in his normally aspirated McLaren, and Derek Warwick and the Tolman team were over the moon at finally breaking their duck with 3 points from a fine drive to fourth. Baldi and Alboreto took the last points. René Arnoux' win took him up to second in the World Championship and just 8 points behind Prost. Tambay's fine second place put him equal on points with Piquet in third, and the Ferrari 1-2 result put the prancing horse some distance ahead of the unhappy Renault team in the Constructors' Stakes. With just 3 races to go, in Italy, Brands Hatch and South Africa, it was still tight at the top.